Hi, Stephen Mitchell here, and this is our Global Learning Project video report. And my group members and I decided to interview people and learn about more of them as learners. The person I interviewed, his name was Joey Hack. I met him freshman year in the dorms, and he is culturally different because he is Mexican.
Hi, I'm David Grouse. I interviewed Jacqueline Bussey. She is culturally different from me in that she is from a totally different demographic than I. She's from Chicago, so she's a city slicker, and I am from a small rural town in mid-Michigan.
And I'm Patrick Burke, and I interviewed Shrikant Oak and Soren Sharmsaz. They're both culturally different from me in ethnicity. Shrikant's Indian, and Soren has lived in Canada. And that's about it.
Okay, I am focusing on the metacognition part of the interview. And in my interview personally, we talked about the amount of material given at once from a professor in college and how it can be overwhelming and how so much information and work at one time can be given in a short time period. He learned from this that proper time must be set aside in order to be successful and complete the work on time. One way he approached this was to attend the help room. He saw when help was offered that he should take it, and it worked out, and then for him, helped him be very successful in the class. He mentioned he doesn't do too well in a 500-person lecture. That's why he attends these one-on-one sessions. It helps him pay more attention and gives him a better understanding of the information that is needed to be learned. My fellow group members had similar interviews by also having their people they're interviewing using the help room. They found it much more helpful when learning in a small environment rather than a full lecture hall. What we found different from our interviews was some found their learning strategies from their parents and followed the ways they were taught during growing up pre-college. And others we found they discovered their own study habits by using trial and error to see what fits them best. We found these students to be more independent, and they discovered how to study successfully on their own and found out what fits them.
On the topic of motivation, when interviewing Jacqueline, it was no surprise that just like any other college student our age, we're motivated by extrinsic factors. We're all kind of the same. That's just how we are. As far as, and speaking in terms of the class, like obviously people want good grades and don't want to upset their parents, but as we've learned from this class, those are extrinsic factors and they're not really actual reasons as to why someone would want to take a class or want to go ahead and go to the library and study and strive for those good grades. So, as I said, college students primarily, we are motivated by extrinsic factors. However, at the same time, we did find from our 4 subjects that students are more motivated to do well in classes that pertain to their major, which makes sense, obviously, and additionally, that subjects were motivated to do well in classes that, although they may not pertain to their major, if the class was interesting or, the topic, the subject happened to have interested them, they found it intriguing, that also would contribute to their motivation in doing well in the class. One difference that we did find between subjects was that only 1 out of the 4 touched on the topic of attendance, and that going to attendance is the first step in doing well. You can't skip class and expect to obtain the same knowledge as opposed to someone who did go to class. There's a lot you can miss just in missing 1 lecture or 1 study group or anything like that. So attendance, we did find, was a huge factor in motivation and doing well.
I will be discussing the new thoughts that my group and I had about ourselves as learners
and about ourselves based on the different cultures that we experienced in this project. As a result of this project, I learned new things about my culture and about myself as a learner. After the first interaction, I realized that something so common to me, like going to church, could be so strange to someone of a different culture. I was able to learn the opposite in the second interaction. I learned how something unfamiliar and strange to me could be commonplace in someone else's culture. As a whole, our group realized that even though people of different cultures have different and seemingly unusual practices, these practices are all equally important in their respective cultures. For example, while I have Christianity as something extremely important in my life, Shrikant has Hinduism. Both are equally valuable pieces of our respective cultures. Steve realized that in order to succeed in class, being motivated to attend the classes is the first and one of the most crucial steps. We all agreed, and that was something our group had found interesting and new about ourselves as learners. We never really figured attendance could be so important, but it really is the step to crucial motivation and success in a class as a result of that motivation. I will also be discussing the implications for teaching that my group found as a result of this experience. After comparing data gathered in our interviews, we as a group realized that expectancy value theory and intrinsic motivation are very important and carry powerful implications in teaching. In all 4 interviews, the classes that our interviewed subjects expected to do well in and valued were the classes that they found the easiest. Since this effect was universal, we decided that teachers should do all that they can to get students to expect to do well and value all learning. That would be the ideal goal. Moving on now to intrinsic motivation. Even though most of our subjects were extrinsically motivated, the classes that they did the best in were the ones that they were intrinsically motivated for. We realized that teachers need to encourage and promote intrinsic motivation for students to fulfill their true potential. There are plenty of important implications for teaching that we've learned in this class, but as a result of this project, my group found that expectancy value theory and intrinsic motivation are 2 of the most prevalent.